They handed me a box wrapped in newspaper comics at the family Christmas gathering, and my cousin Derek announced loudly that it was finally the perfect gift for the oddball. When I opened it to find a fake adoption certificate with weirdo family listed as my origin, the entire room burst into laughter. So I smiled, agreed to take a real DNA test, and waited. 3 weeks later, I stood up during Derek's engagement party and revealed that I was Grandma Catherine's only legitimate heir, and everyone else, including Derek, came from Uncle Richard's secret affairs with married women. Hello everyone. If you love stories about family secrets and standing up for yourself, please subscribe and leave a comment telling us your thoughts. Now let's begin. The Christmas lights twinkled on Grandma Catherine's massive tree, but they might as well have been mocking me. My hands felt frozen as I held the crumpled newspaper-wrapped package, staring at my cousin Derek's grinning face. He was 29, 3 years older than me, and he'd perfected the art of making me feel small since we were children. Come on, Sophie, open it, he shouted over the noise of our enormous family gathering. I promise you'll love it. I should have seen it coming. The way everyone kept glancing at me all afternoon. How Aunt Linda kept pouring herself more eggnog than usual. How Uncle Richard wouldn't look my direction. My cousin Emma sat stiff as a board, her Christmas cookie untouched, while Derek's girlfriend Brittany looked like she wanted to disappear into the furniture. Derek, honey, maybe not now, Grandma Catherine said softly from her armchair, but Uncle Richard interrupted her. Oh, let the girl open her present, Mom. It's Christmas. We're all family here. My fingers trembled as I ripped through the comics section. Inside was a cheaply printed certificate that read Certificate of Adoption with blanks filled in with marker. Weirdo family adopts Sophie Marie Bennett, the strangest creature we ever found. Below it was a note, since you've never fit in with the rest of us normal people, we figured we should make it official. Are you even really a Bennett? The room exploded with laughter. Derek practically fell off the couch. Uncle Richard snorted into his drink. Even Emma, my own age, giggled behind her hand. Aunt Linda had tears streaming down her face from laughing so hard. What's wrong, Sophie? Derek gasped. You're always so quiet and strange. Maybe you really were adopted and nobody told you. Something deep inside me went completely silent. I sat there holding that cruel certificate while my family's laughter bounced off Grandma's antique walls like weapons. This wasn't new, they'd always made me feel different, but this was the first time they'd turned it into public entertainment. All right, I said quietly, my voice cutting through the noise like a knife through butter. I'll prove it. The laughter stopped. Derek looked almost upset that I wasn't crying. That's what he wanted, tears, anger, a scene. Prove what? Uncle Richard asked, setting down his drink. That I'm a Bennett. I'll take a DNA test. If you're all so sure I'm adopted or don't belong here, let's get actual proof. Grandma Catherine's face went pale. Her teacup rattled against the saucer. Sophie, sweetheart, you don't need to. No, I do, I interrupted, meeting her worried eyes. If Derek thinks I'm not part of this family, I want to settle it once and for all. Derek leaned forward, that smug expression back on his face. Okay, deal. But when it proves you're the odd one out, you have to admit it in front of everyone. Fine, I agreed. But if I'm a Bennett, you all owe me an apology. A real one. Deal, Derek said, extending his hand like we were closing a business transaction. I shook it, feeling his expensive watch cold against my wrist. He had no idea what he'd just started. That night, I lay in my small apartment staring at the ceiling. The fake certificate sat on my kitchen counter like a bomb waiting to go off. But the truth was, I'd always wondered. Growing up, while Derek and Emma got everything handed to them, cars, college funds, family support, I scraped by on scholarships and student loans. While they looked like they could be models with their tall frames and sharp features, I was shorter, rounder, with softer features that didn't match anyone. You're just different, honey, Mom used to say before she died when I was 15. Special. Not everyone has to look identical. But it was more than appearance. It was treatment. Derek got a Mercedes at 18. I got a bus pass. Emma got a fancy wedding paid for by the family. I wasn't even asked to be a bridesmaid. Derek could do anything and be praised. I could work myself to exhaustion and barely get acknowledged. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Rachel. "Girl, Emma just called me. What happened at Christmas?" I typed back, just tired of being the family joke. "What do you mean?" I explained everything, my thumbs flying across the screen. When I finished, Rachel called immediately. "Sophie, listen to me carefully," her voice was urgent. "Something about this feels wrong. Why would Derek do this now?" "What do you mean?" "His engagement party is in 3 weeks. Your family has been planning it for months. Why would he start drama right before his big moment?" "I don't know. Because he's cruel. Maybe. Or maybe he knows something. Maybe there's a reason he wants to make you look like the outsider right now." "Like what?" "I don't know yet. But be careful, okay? Something smells off about this whole thing." I submitted my DNA sample 3 days after Christmas. The clinic was sterile and cold, smelling like cleaning products and anxiety. The nurse, a kind-looking woman in her 50s, swabbed the inside of my cheek with practiced efficiency. "Results typically take 2 to 4 weeks, she explained, sealing my sample. "We'll email everything to the address you provided." 2 to 4 weeks. A month of living in uncertainty, wondering if everything I knew about myself was wrong. I buried myself in work at the public library where I managed the children's section. The kids didn't care about DNA or family drama. They just wanted someone to read them stories and help them find books about dinosaurs and fairies. Funny how strangers' children gave me more warmth than my own family ever did. "Miss Sophie, why do you look sad?" a little girl named Lily asked during story time, her 6-year-old face full of concern. "Just thinking about grown-up things, sweetie," I told her, managing a smile. "My dad says family should make you feel good, not bad," she said seriously. Out of the mouths of children. At home, things got stranger. Derek started showing up at my apartment unannounced, something he'd never done before. He'd ask random questions about my plans, my schedule, whether I was dating anyone. "Just checking in on my cousin," he'd say with that fake smile. "Making sure you're doing okay." Aunt Linda called more than usual, her voice tight with something I couldn't identify. "Worry? Guilt? You're still coming to Derek's engagement party, right?" she asked during one call. "Of course. Why wouldn't I? No reason. Just wanted to make sure." Uncle Richard avoided me completely, which somehow felt worse than dealing with him directly. The days dragged by like they were moving through mud. 18 days after I took the test, something unexpected arrived, not my results, but a letter from a law office I didn't recognize. "Dear Miss Bennet," it began. "I am writing to you regarding your late grandmother Catherine Bennet's estate. There are matters we need to discuss in person at your earliest convenience. This concerns inheritance issues and family documentation that your grandmother specifically wanted you to be aware of. Please contact my office immediately." I read it 3 times, my heart pounding. Grandma Catherine wasn't dead, she'd been at Christmas. I called the number on the letterhead immediately. "Law offices of Patterson and Gray, how may I help you? This is Sophie Bennet. I received a letter from your office about my grandmother's estate, but my grandmother is still alive. One moment please." There was a pause, then a man's voice came on the line. "Miss Bennet, this is James Patterson. Yes, your grandmother is very much alive. She came to us 6 months ago with concerns about her estate and certain family matters. She wanted to ensure you had access to specific documents before any family conflicts escalated." My stomach dropped. "What kind of documents?" "I'd prefer to discuss this in person. Can you come to our office tomorrow at 3? Can you give me any hint what this is about?" He was quiet for a moment. "Your grandmother wanted to protect you, Miss Bennet. She wanted to make sure you knew the truth about your family's history before anyone could use it against you. That's all I can say over the phone. I barely slept that night. The law office was downtown in an old building with marble floors and wood-paneled walls. Patterson was in his 60s, with grey hair and the kind eyes of someone who'd seen every family secret imaginable. Your grandmother came to me 6 months ago, he began, sliding a thick folder across his polished desk. She was concerned about how your family treated you. She'd noticed the pattern for years, how differently you were treated compared to your cousins. So she hired a private investigator. My hands shook as I opened the folder. Inside were documents, photographs, marriage certificates, birth certificates, and DNA test results dated from several months ago. I don't understand, I whispered. Your grandmother suspected something was wrong with your family's story. What you're holding is proof that you are the only legitimate heir of the Bennett family line. The room seemed to tilt. What? Mr. Patterson's voice was gentle but firm. Your Uncle Richard, your grandmother's only child, has been lying to the family for decades. The 3 cousins you grew up with, Derek, Emma, and Travis, none of them are from legitimate marriages or relationships. I stared at him, unable to process what he was saying. Derek is the result of an affair Richard had with a married woman named Patricia Owens. She gave Richard the baby to raise when her husband found out about the affair. Emma is from another affair with a woman named Sandra Price, also married at the time. Travis is from a 3rd affair with Jennifer Walsh, who was engaged when Richard got her pregnant. In each case, Richard took the children and raised them as if they were from legitimate relationships, but he was never legally married to any of these women. But Aunt Linda? Linda is his current wife, but she's not the biological mother of any of the children. She knew about their origins but agreed to raise them. The family created elaborate cover stories, divorces that never happened, previous marriages that were fictitious. Your grandmother only discovered the truth recently when she started investigating why you were treated so differently. My mind raced back through years of memories. Derek, Emma, and Travis had always been presented as legitimate Bennett children. But I'd never seen wedding photos. Never heard stories about their mothers beyond vague mentions of Richard's ex-wives. So where do I fit in? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Your mother, Anne Bennett, was Richard's half-sister through your grandmother's first marriage. Your grandmother had 2 children, Richard from her first marriage, and Anne from her second marriage to your grandfather, Thomas Harper. When Anne married your father and had you, you became the only legitimate grandchild in the family. He pulled out more documents. Your mother died when you were 15, and your father passed 2 years ago. Under your grandmother's original will, as the only legitimate heir, you stand to inherit everything, the house, the investments, the family business, everything. It's worth approximately $4.3 million. I couldn't breathe. Why am I just finding out about this now? Your grandmother wanted to tell you for years, but she was afraid. Afraid of tearing the family apart, afraid of what Richard would do. But recently, she became aware that Richard and Derek have been making plans to contest her will. They've been spreading rumors that you're not really part of the family, setting up a narrative to exclude you from the inheritance. That's why she came to me. She wanted you to have the truth, documented and legally protected, before they could act on their plans. The fake adoption certificate. The public humiliation at Christmas. Derek's sudden interest in my life. It all made horrible sense now. Does anyone else know about this? I asked. Only your grandmother and now you. She made me promise these documents would remain sealed unless someone publicly challenged your place in the family. She said if they did that, the seal was broken, and you had the right to defend yourself with the truth. They challenged my place publicly. Spectacularly. At Christmas in front of everyone. The seal is broken, I said quietly. Yes, Miss Bennett. The seal is broken. My official DNA test results arrived on a Thursday morning, 3.5 weeks after I'd taken the test. I sat in my apartment with Rachel beside me as I opened the email with trembling hands. Match probability with Richard Bennett, uncle 25%, consistent with niece-uncle relationship. Confirmed, Sophie Bennett is a biological member of the Bennett family. Rachel squeezed my hand. Thank God, Sophie. But I didn't feel relief. I felt rage, cold, burning rage that started in my chest and spread through my entire body until I was shaking with it. They'd made me doubt my own existence. They'd turned my identity into a joke, into entertainment for their cruel amusement. And it had all been a lie designed to steal my inheritance. When are you going to tell them? Rachel asked. I thought about Derek's engagement party, now just 10 days away. Aunt Linda had been planning it for months at an expensive venue. 300 guests. A 7-course dinner. A slideshow of Derek and Brittany's relationship. The golden boy's moment to shine. At the engagement party, I said. I'm going to tell them at Derek's engagement party. Sophie, are you absolutely sure? That's going to destroy everything. They made me a joke at Christmas. They gave me a fake adoption certificate in front of the entire family. Derek wanted to make my identity a public question to steal my inheritance. My voice was steady now, cold. If he wants to make family legitimacy a public discussion, then we'll have a very public discussion about legitimacy. Rachel looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. I'm with you. Whatever you need. Over the next 10 days, I prepared meticulously. I had Mr. Patterson prepare certified copies of all the documents, the DNA tests, the private investigators' reports, the birth certificates that proved the affairs, everything. I recorded a statement with him outlining the timeline. Everything was documented, verified, undeniable. Derek called me twice during that week, always with that same condescending tone. Can't wait to see you at the engagement party, cousin. Oh wait, are you still my cousin? Guess we'll find out soon, right? Can't wait, I'd reply sweetly. I have a surprise for everyone too. The venue was stunning, a historic mansion decorated with white roses and candles. 300 guests filled the grand ballroom, dressed in cocktail attire, sipping champagne, and admiring the elaborate ice sculpture in the shape of intertwined hearts. Derek stood near the stage in an expensive suit, his arm around Brittany, accepting congratulations like a prince at his coronation. Emma and Travis flanked them, the perfect Bennett family on display. I wore a deep green dress, not white like Aunt Linda had suggested, not silver like Emma. Green. Bold. Impossible to miss. Sophie. Aunt Linda rushed over, her smile forced. You came. I wasn't entirely sure you would. Wouldn't miss it for anything, I said. Is everything ready for the speeches? Yes. Richard is speaking first, then Derek, then we'll have the champagne toast. You're at table 19 toward the back. Of course I was. Even here, I was pushed to the margins. Actually, I'd like to say something too, I said. About Derek and the family. Aunt Linda's face froze. Oh, I don't think we have time for. I insist. Just 5 minutes. Consider it my engagement gift. Before she could argue further, I walked away and took my seat next to Rachel and my old college friend Marcus, one of the few people from my past who'd always treated me with respect. You're really doing this? Marcus whispered. I really am. Uncle Richard's speech was predictable, praising Derek's accomplishments, his bright future, how proud the Bennett family was of him. Derek's speech was worse, full of humble brags and thinly veiled comments about some people who never quite fit in with family values. His eyes found mine in the crowd when he said it, and he smiled like a predator. Then Aunt Linda stood to introduce the toast. That's when I stood up. Actually, before we toast, I have something important to share. The microphone squealed as I took it from the surprised DJ. 300 faces turned toward me. I saw Aunt Linda go white. Saw Uncle Richard's jaw clench. Saw Derek's confident smile flicker. Hi everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Sophie, Derek's cousin. Thank you all for celebrating this special moment. I thought an engagement party was the perfect time to share some family history that's been hidden for far too long. Sophie, this isn't appropriate. Aunt Linda started moving toward me, but Marcus stood up, his 6'3" frame blocking her path. Actually, it's very appropriate, I continued, my voice clear and steady. You see, at our family Christmas gathering, Derek gave me a very special gift in front of everyone, a fake adoption certificate. He suggested I wasn't really a Bennett. Everyone laughed when he questioned whether I belonged to this family. So I took a DNA test. And the results were very enlightening. I pulled the documents from my purse, my DNA results in one hand, Mr. Patterson's folder in the other. Turns out, I am a Bennett. Confirmed biological match to Uncle Richard. 25% DNA match, consistent with niece and uncle. I've always been part of this family, despite years of being treated like an outsider. Relief flickered across some faces. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. But here's what's really interesting. While my grandmother was investigating why I was treated so differently, she discovered something remarkable about the Bennett family tree. Something that changes everything about inheritance, legitimacy, and who actually belongs to this family. Derek's face had drained of color. What are you talking about? I held up the second folder. I'm talking about the truth about you, Derek. And Emma. And Travis. The truth your father has been hiding for decades. The silence in that ballroom was absolute. You could have heard a champagne bubble pop. My grandmother hired a private investigator 6 months ago. What she discovered was that none of you, Derek, Emma, or Travis, are legitimate Bennett heirs. You're all the products of Uncle Richard's affairs with married women. The room erupted. Gasps, shouts, the sound of chairs scraping against the floor. That's not true. Derek shouted. You're lying because you're jealous. I have documentation right here, I said calmly, still holding the microphone. Birth certificates, DNA tests, private investigator reports, sworn statements. Derek, your biological mother is Patricia Owens. She was married to someone else when Richard got her pregnant. She gave you to Richard to raise when her husband found out about the affair. There was no divorce. There was no legitimate marriage. You are the child of an affair. I turned to Emma. Emma, your biological mother is Sandra Price. Another married woman. Another affair. Richard has never been legally married to your mother either. Then to Travis. Travis, your mother is Jennifer Walsh. Engaged when Richard got her pregnant. Same story. Affairs, not marriages. None of you are legitimate heirs to the Bennett family fortune. Uncle Richard stood up, his face purple with rage. You have no right. I have every right, I interrupted, my voice cutting through the chaos. Under my grandmother's will, as the only legitimate heir, I inherit everything. The house, the business, the investments, all of it. It's worth $4.3 million. You've been planning to contest the will, to have me declared not part of the family, so you could steal my inheritance. That's what Christmas was really about. That's what this whole campaign to make me look like the outsider has been about. You were setting up a legal challenge to exclude me. I pointed to Mr. Patterson, who stood near the back. That's James Patterson, my grandmother's attorney. He can verify every word. The documents are all legal, certified, and filed with the court. Grandma knew you were planning something, Richard. So she gave me the truth, protected legally and sealed until someone publicly challenged my legitimacy. You did that at Christmas. Derek did that with his cruel gift. So now everyone gets to know the real family secret. Uncle Richard lunged toward me, but Marcus and 2 of his friends intercepted him. You're destroying this family, he screamed. No, I said calmly. I'm revealing what you built this family on. Lies, affairs, and stolen inheritance. You treated me like garbage my entire life to cover up the truth about your own children. You made me the scapegoat so no one would question their legitimacy. Aunt Linda was sobbing. Emma looked like she might faint. Travis had gone completely silent, staring at nothing. Derek's face went through a rapid series of expressions: shock, denial, rage, and finally something like broken understanding. "Brittany," he started, reaching for his fiancée. But Brittany stepped back, her face pale. "Is this true?" she whispered. He couldn't answer. His silence confirmed everything. Grandma Catherine, who'd been sitting quietly at the family table, stood up slowly. Everyone turned to look at her. "Sophie is telling the truth," she said, her voice frail but clear. "I should have told you all years ago. Richard, I loved you, but what you did was wrong. These children deserved to know the truth. Sophie deserved to be treated like family instead of being punished for your guilt." She walked over to me, her hand trembling as she took mine. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm sorry I didn't protect you sooner." "It's okay, Grandma," I said, and meant it. She'd been caught in an impossible situation. The engagement party disintegrated into complete chaos. Guests grabbed coats and purses, fleeing like the building was on fire. Some stayed to watch the drama unfold, phones out, recording everything. Derek stood frozen, his perfect moment shattered. The engagement ring on Brittany's finger caught the light as she pulled it off and handed it back to him. "I can't do this," she said quietly. "I can't marry into this. I'm sorry." She walked out, and Derek didn't follow. He just stood there, surrounded by the ruins of his celebration. Emma approached me, tears streaming down her face. "Did you know? Before Christmas?" "No. Grandma's lawyer contacted me after Derek gave me that certificate. He set this in motion, not me." "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry we laughed. I'm sorry I was part of making you feel like you didn't belong." It was the first real apology I'd ever received from any of them. It didn't erase years of pain, but it was something. Rachel hugged me tight. "How do you feel?" "Numb," I admitted. "I thought I'd feel victorious. Instead, I just feel empty." "Let's go home," Rachel said softly. As we left, I looked back once at the destroyed celebration, at the life I was walking away from. The ice sculpture was already starting to melt. The next 3 weeks were brutal. My phone exploded with calls and messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Some supported me, calling out Richard and Derek for their cruelty. Others accused me of being vengeful, of destroying the family, of choosing the worst possible moment to reveal the truth. "There's no good time to expose decades of lies," I told anyone who would listen. Grandma Catherine moved into a smaller house near me. She couldn't stay in that big place with Richard anymore, not after everything. We had coffee every morning, slowly building the relationship we should have had all along. "I should have been braver," she told me one morning, her eyes filled with regret. "I should have told the truth years ago. You were scared. I understand that now." Uncle Richard didn't speak to me again. The last I heard, he'd moved 2 states away, unable to face the gossip and judgment in our town. Derek sent one final message 3 weeks after the engagement party. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed everything I built." I never responded. He still didn't understand that I hadn't destroyed anything. I'd simply refused to be the scapegoat for his father's lies anymore. Emma reached out regularly. We met for coffee sometimes, carefully trying to build something real from the wreckage. It was slow, painful work, but she was genuinely trying. "I always knew something felt off," she admitted during one of our meetings. "I just never wanted to question it. It was easier to make you the problem than to look at the truth." Travis never contacted me. Last I heard, he'd moved to California and changed his name. 6 months later, I sat in Grandma Catherine's new house, helping her organize old photos. The viral videos from Derek's engagement party had finally died down, replaced by fresher scandals. Our family had become a cautionary tale on social media, the girl who exposed her cousin's illegitimacy at an engagement party. "Do you regret it?" Grandma asked me, holding a photo of me as a child. "No," I said honestly. "I regret that it had to happen. I regret that it took so long. But I don't regret standing up for the truth. What I learned through all of this is that family isn't just DNA. It's how people treat you, value you, and see you. Rachel, Marcus, and the kids at the library showed me more genuine family love than the people who shared my bloodline. Sometimes the most powerful form of self-respect is walking away from people who diminish you, even when they're related to you. Sometimes the truth burns everything down. And sometimes, from those ashes, you build something better, something honest. I found a letter in one of Grandma's boxes, written to me but never sent. My dearest Sophie, if you're reading this, it means the truth has finally come out. I'm sorry I waited so long. I'm sorry I let them hurt you. You were never the problem. You were never the odd one out. You were always the genuine one, the only one built on truth instead of lies. I'm proud of you. I've always been proud of you. Stand in your truth, my girl. You are the Bennett legacy, the real one. With all my love, Grandma. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share your own experiences in the comments below. Have you ever had to stand up for yourself against family? Let's talk about it in the comments. Remember, you are not required to carry other people's lies. Your truth matters. Your story matters. Don't forget to hit that notification bell for more real stories about family, betrayal, and finding yourself when everything falls apart. I was a Bennett. I was my grandmother's heir. And I was finally free from the weight of their projected shame. The ending wasn't perfect. It was real. And sometimes that's enough.